Hello everybody. Today we will talk about product information management software. And my guest is Jérôme from e-Comas, e-commerce made simple. Hello, Jérôme. Maybe you can start with an introduction of yourself.
Yes, great. Hi, Max. Very happy to be here and super happy to talk about the PIM, this kind of strange topic and strange three letters, PIM. So I'm the founder of eComas. eComas is an Amazon and e-commerce agency. We're based in Luxembourg in the middle of Europe. So I'm French, but the whole team is very multicultural and multinational. The company is 8 years old and we help brands. Our mission is really to help brands grow in e-commerce, and we help them on strategic stuff with consulting. We help them run their seller or vendor account. We help them with content, with advertising. And we found out that having the right technology to support your business and the right technology for your products, your product management is super important, as much as it's super important to have the right technology for advertising. Right, Max?
Exactly. So how many people are you now in your agency?
So we have roughly 50 people now. We have the people. So now is in those COVID times, people are a bit scattered around Europe. But the main center is, like, say, Luxembourg. We have a team also in India, which is working with us, and a small team also in Madagascar, because in my history I had worked with Madagascar, and I met some people, and we kept on working together. So it's a very multinational. We have eComas USA LLC also, but I have to say there's no employees yet. So the company is ready for us to go and to get started in the US shortly.
Yet to come. But I heard you are in Las Vegas in March, and you're the Prosper Show, right?
So exactly. Everybody. I'm going to see Céline Dion and to go also to the Prosper Show and be talking on stage at the Prosper Show about going international.
Amazing. And based in Luxembourg, I mean, Amazon is also based in Europe, in Luxembourg. Then you have from scratch like a pan-European focus, I guess.
Exactly. The funny thing is that if you go in front of the European headquarters of Amazon, there's no logo. You go in front of the building, nobody knows that it's Amazon. They have several buildings, so now you start to see a few logos, but like even inside the entrance hall, there's no logo. So they're not really wanting to get people to come and visit them in Europe. So that's a bit the fun fact about Amazon. You're right that my vision at the beginning was to say there's a lot of great agencies and people doing a great job, but a lot of them are really focused on one country, and I wanted us to be very straight away from the beginning focused in all the countries of Europe. So that's why, hence the reason of being in Luxembourg. It's also a good thing because my former company was also in Luxembourg, so I thought it was a good idea to mix all of that together and to make a nice story about it. Right?
Yeah, got it. Okay, so let's talk about PIM, Product Information Management. Can you explain our listeners what it is and what it helps sellers and vendors with?
Okay, so a PIM is basically where you will put all your content and have it organized. By content, I mean pictures, videos, and text the copywriting, right? So if you were to look at, let's say, a pyramid, and you have different layers, you have actually one layer below the PIM, which is often called the DAM. So it's digital asset management. A DAM is basically, let's say, a huge library where you put all your assets in different baskets. So you put that a bit like, you put your drawer and you put your different things, you put, this and this, and it goes, and it's really well organized, but it doesn't make sense because all the things are here, a bit like you would have on Google Drive. Okay, so that's your DAM. Typically, you would start with that. And then a PIM is basically making the sense of all the data you have. The PIM will start to say, okay, you have a data model, and you basically will say, my product has got those 6 pictures, this video, this text here, this text in French, this text in English, this text in German. So the PIM is basically going to organize all your data, a bit like you see it on Amazon or a website, but it makes sense of all the data you have, and it organizes it. And if you go one step above with my pyramid, the last part is the syndication part, which is when you're taking what you have in your PIM and you're sending it to Amazon, you're sending it to eBay, to Reve, to whichever retailer you want. So the idea is that probably today, if you're a seller or a vendor, you're using nasty NIS files from Amazon, or you're using the tool one by one. So you have to rename your pictures, you have to fill in Excel sheets, you have to copy paste, and that takes a lot of time. The idea that a PIM tool will help you they use often the name of one source of truth. So in that repository, you will have all your data there, and that will be the real truth. So the thing is, when you're doing that with Amazon with an NIS file, for example, you send it, they reject 5 lines. So you change those 5 lines, you resend it. So at the end, you say, wow, I have 10 files, and I don't remember what has changed and not changed. The idea of a PIM is that you would have everything there, and once you change it, it stays there, and that's your source of truth.
Got it. You mentioned pushing information to different retailers. So from your perspective, for whom is the decision to implement a PIM the right decision, and when should sellers and vendors think about that?
So there's 2 main factors. There's the size of your catalog. If you have 20 products, okay, you don't really need a big system because it has a cost. If you have 5,000, okay, that becomes very complicated to handle. The second is, how many countries are you going to? Because obviously, even if you have 100 products or 150, if you're going into 5 languages, 6, 7, 8, 9, then you have 9, contents specifically for copywriting, but you could have also pictures with some text on it, right? So you have 9 sets of content you need to follow. And on Google Drive or on Dropbox, it becomes very, very complicated. So the 2 aspects is really the size of your catalog and how many countries you want to go to. Those 2 things. And this maybe the third one is to how many retailers you want to send your content to.
So it's for both, either for sellers and vendors who are solely focusing on Amazon, like most of our clients, for instance, are focusing on Amazon, but as soon as the catalog grows, then they should implement it. And on the other hand, if a vendor or a brand is selling on multiple marketplaces, then it also makes absolutely sense. What would you recommend as a time horizon? Like, okay, the retailer realized or the merchant realized, okay, we need to implement something like that. What is, from your experience, the time to implementation?
So actually, it depends on the complexity of your data model. To implement a PIM tool, it takes 3 months, 3 to 4 months, if your data model is not overcomplicated. Now the question will be, usually for a brand, this is it's a bit like changing your CRM, or like going on SAP, going on Salesforce, on those big software, because it's a big impactful decision which you will have to stick with for some time, because you don't want to change. Like we implemented Salesforce. Believe me, once you've implemented Salesforce, you don't want to touch it never again in your life. Okay, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I don't want to do that. And typically a PIM is a bit like that. So the time it takes to handle it or to make it available, it's not very long. What takes time is to look at the different solutions, take the decision for the one which suits you best. You have some very cheap ones which are not very tailor-made, and you have some very, very expensive ones which are super tailor-made. So that will be depending. So you can to have something between, maybe, okay, the cheapest would be probably 20,000 euros per year to 200,000, 300,000. Okay, depending on the size of your company. Now, probably a good average would be like 50, 60. That probably is something you would look to have a good tool. The kind of tool, and you have the fees to pay for the licenses, and you have a fee also for the implementation part to create your data model in your own instance. So the first year is a bit more because you have to pay for that implementation. It's same with Salesforce. If you want to have a specific setup for yourself, you need to pay someone to come and do that. It's the same with a good PIM.
Yeah, got it. And when a company now is deciding on a PIM or is looking for a PIM solution, what features you found most valuable, or what factors matter the most so they can decide on which serves them best?
So now that we've been a couple of years now in that business, it's interesting because it depends where the demand from the PIM has come from. Like if you look at big companies, sometimes it's been the IT division, because the IT was the people in charge of organizing content. And if you look at some maybe smaller companies, they've been looking more at the syndication part of saying, okay, I want to push content to Amazon, for example, and it's very complicated. And depending of where you're coming from and what's your hats, basically, you will look at some features and some will look at others. My recommendation would be to look at the whole 360 degrees. So there's an IT thing to it, which is, okay, how do I store my content? And I keep it live and somewhere where everyone can have access and it's secured, and you can even make it available for distributors with a specific page, blah, blah, all of that. So that's maybe more of an IT kind of thing. And there's a marketing aspect, which is, okay, how do I send my content to Amazon, and whichever. Amazon is the one where the connection is the most important, because normally that's the biggest one, right? But you need to look at that aspect. So some PIM tools are very good at the PIM part and not very good at syndication, and some are very good in syndication, not super good in PIM. So it's having a look and having this wide view, and probably asking for some support if you're not knowledgeable, to have there people who can help you in finding the right tool for your needs.
Yeah. Do you now, most of the listeners will be Amazon merchants in some scenario, or at least are present on the Amazon marketplaces. Do you have recommendations for PIMs that worked well in the past for the Amazon marketplace, especially with the syndication part?
Yes, so we're a partner with one tool specifically. So careful, I'm biased in a way, but I honestly believe it's the best tool today on that part. It's called Salsify. It's like for smaller companies, it's probably a bit expensive. It's a really extensive tool and really impressive tool. And like their background is mostly from the syndication part. They started really with Amazon. They were one of the first ones to be certified as a sort of syndication tool within Amazon. So they really are very well integrated with Amazon, and that integration works super well. And they've built the PIM side afterwards, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are really interested in Amazon and sending content, Salsify is a great tool, because that's really where they started from. And the tool it's like a lot of surveys has come out, and they come out one of the first and one of the best ones in terms of PIMs. So they've really upgraded, and it's impressive because it's quite easy to use. So you need to train yourself, you need to understand, but it's quite easy to use, and it makes a huge difference. For our big projects of content upload, like we had for large company, we had more than 100,000 SKUs to create worldwide. Like we estimate that we saved 50% of the time with the tool. So at the beginning, you lose time because you need to learn, you need to upload everything, but afterwards it's so much easier. And for also a team to work on it, it's much easier.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you upload a file and then like 2 or 5 get accepted, the others don't, then you re-upload, and so on. Like from your perspective, how reliable do these tools work, and how much do you still have to do manually after the implementation?
So in terms of responsibility, the tool works 100%. Sending it to Amazon specifically. So what happens is inside the tool, so you have your DAM elements where you put everything, the PIM is organizing, and then you've got the syndication part where you basically say, okay, my product category is toys, let's say. I'm in, toys for young kids, and then you have all the attributes. What you will do is you will map in in this report, so it's called the readiness report to show that your products are ready. You will match the attributes. So the system will download all the attributes demanded by Amazon on that specific category and with this browse node. And you will match the different attributes which is asked from Amazon with your attributes in your own system. And the Salsify will tell you if you're 100% ready. So they will check and they know the criteria that, okay, you're at least, the number of words, the if it's centimeters, like if it's a comma or a dot, whatever, it will check that you're 100% ready. If it says you're 100% ready, that's true. You will send your content to Amazon and that works. Now, Salsify is not Amazon. And for those who work with Amazon, you will know that Amazon is Amazon and it can have bugs. And for the big brand we talked about, for example, sometimes we sent the content was there, but was not showing, not appearing. And because Amazon was having a reconciliation score problem and, content from another seller was appearing and not the one from the vendor, which is abnormal. But to be fair, if you had done it manually, you would have come into the same problem. So having a syndication tool doesn't mean you solve Amazon specific problems. It means that on your part of the work, you will have saved time. Now, sometimes issues happen and you will still have to do troubleshooting. And that's why we believe that as an Amazon agency, it makes sense for us to help on the Salsify end, but also being able to solve the last mile delivery of the content.
Got it. So does Salsify, for instance, make sure that the Amazon content that is pushed to Amazon is also shown on the product detail pages? So does it somehow scrape product detail pages and inform the merchants if there are changes or if there are changes that have not been applied? Is there kind of a loop?
So there's a loop on the internal side. So the system will be able to say if it's been pushed and it's in the backend. It's another feature. They have this feature also, but it's an add-on to be transparent. It's an add-on where you have to run another report to see that if your content is showing on live. So to be clear, Salsify is an IT tool, and they will say, I'm not responsible for if it's showing or not. If it's an Amazon problem, they will say, and to be fair, that's a bit it's right. We're not here to solve specifically Amazon problem, but if it's our tool, then we'll solve it. But if it's on Amazon, then you need to solve it. That's where, once again, you can come, either you have your team which are used to work with cataloging, or you can ask an agency who's used to troubleshoot cataloging issues.
And as mobile is becoming more and more important, we know that the description on mobile devices is shown above the 5 attributes. And for the description over the past years, especially the A+ content has become more and more important. Do PIMs also support the A+ content part?
So because it's become very important, more and more PIMs are including that. And Salsify, for example, it's got actually a module which is amazing, and it's called Enhanced Content.
Yeah.
And you plug it in, and you can syndicate and thousands of depending on the design, but you can in a few clicks. That's a game changer. That's the module I prefer on Salsify, because it saves so much time. You can find your digital elements, and you build your page, and it sort of sends it all to the system. That's super easy and makes it an amazing change. So that's a great tool. And I think a lot of the PIMs are getting to it. I'm less knowledgeable about the other PIMs, obviously, but I think more and more are getting to that because it's super important.
Yeah. And what's also popping up is experiments. So even now on Amazon itself, you've got the possibility to test a version A of A+ content, for instance, against version B of A+ content. Does split testing also work with a PIM software, or should merchants use a different one?
That's a very good question. Well done. You stuck me there. That's a great. I would need to check. Well, technically it should be possible, but that's a feature I didn't dig into. But good point.
Okay,
So.
but it could be interesting, like especially nowadays, if you have like really bestsellers, changing perhaps some images or changing some parts of the description or title, to see how this is influencing.
Yeah,
Your
I'll look for the answer to that, and we'll make sure to add it
follow up with
to
that.
the video.
Okay, so we talked about what a PIM is, who should choose it, what features it has. What would you say, for who is it not a good decision to go for a PIM, besides like the price, the different retailers, and the product amount that you talked about? Are there any criteria where you say, okay, stick with that, what you have?
Yeah, for me, it's very much linked to the size, the size of the company. If you're a one-man company and you're doing everything, and you're on top of things, or what I mean is a small team, maybe that's you should better use in doing DSP advertising than spending on the PIM. So it's really like and it's really a size issue. And what I've seen is that all the very big companies have got all PIM, and since a long time, and if you're into retail, you have GDSN things, and you have to have all those things already ready. So for me, it's really the question is, do you like, is content super important for your product? Most probably yes, and it has an impact on your conversion. Therefore, are you efficient enough today in what you're doing? If you're finding out that, okay, there's someone doing it, but he's on holiday, then everything is lost for 2 weeks and whatever, then okay, that's probably the time where you can say, probably we need to look into it. And large catalogs, like, I don't know how people handle large catalogs on their own. It's a
makes absolutely sense. Okay, then to look a little bit into the future, what do you think are upcoming challenges on the one side, then Amazon merchants, but on the other side also PIMs will face in this year 2022?
For me, we have something where we call the e-commerce is becoming funneled a bit. It's like you have all the platforms want to keep the customer, they want to keep the technology and everything. So Amazon wants to keep all the customer there. They're trying to go into social also, with posts, with videos, with live, with everything. Google is trying to do Google Shopping and to try to keep the people also on Google, with Instagram also. So you have those things where, okay, all of this is getting very funneled and having walled gardens. And technology is becoming very important for brands to say, okay, now I will have to service different content, different ads, different things, even for the logistics and for different stuff. So the for me, for brands of a reasonable size, the point will be, okay, if they want to expand from Amazon to other places, it's like, okay, do I have the technology which will support that? Because either you make millions and you've got an enormous team, and and that's already, you've been doing that for years, or you're probably coming from a smaller space and say, okay, I see the opportunity to expand into the US, expand into Singapore, into Japan, into Australia, and all that. It's like, okay, how do you leverage technology to support your growth? And technology is in many things. PIM is a very time consuming one. Advertising, very well, right? It's like, how do you start to handle multiple campaigns over multiple technology? Logistics sometimes is like, a lot of systems now are operating with integrated CRMs, and Shopify and websites. So all of that is looking at the technology and having this vision of, okay, I'm growing, and the e-commerce platform are structuring themselves, want to close themselves also to have each one with a separate, and probably will want different content. They will want a different advertising type, and blah blah blah. And the idea is that, for me, is, okay, all of that is moving. We will see if will Google manage to do its Google Shopping? For now, it's not super successful, but that's their target, right? So it's like, how do you handle sending all the content and making sure that your content is good on Google, it's good on Amazon, it's good on Walmart or on Rive, or and that the whole integration is on the retailer side, but also on the brand side is a big topic, and I think that will come more and more. And the US, the PIM discussion is like everybody knows. Okay, we will probably have to go into on the PIM in Europe. For me, the topic is still wow. PIM is a bit of a swear word. In the sense, no, it's a bit like I don't want to have a new CRM, or I don't want a PIM. It's too much work. But I think that's a bit like going on Amazon or not going on Amazon. It's a no-brainer, right? You have to be there.
Yeah, sounds good. And then can you explain a little bit how your agency is helping vendors and sellers to implement the PIM, and also what do you do beyond for sellers and vendors?
So we have different services. I said we have an e-commerce growth model, basically, when it goes with strategy. So we offer consulting. So it's like defining your strategy, your pricing, your portfolio management, so on. So it's like defining the why. Why are you going on Amazon? A lot of brands don't really know why they're going, and that often is the reason why they're having problems. So it's, if I would say in a sense, defining the why. After that, we have what we call operations or account management, where we run seller or vendor accounts, and we do cataloging, we take out the catalog, we take out the advertising, search advertising, but also DSP advertising. We take care of the contents, cataloging, I said already, reporting and troubleshooting. Okay, my catalog is there, but it's not uploading. And then we have a content side where we, for example, implement Salsify. So if you were to decide, okay, I need a PIM, so Salsify will come and will sell you the solution, explain to you everything, and we will come into this first year and this first part where we have IT people a bit. It's a mix. It's a team with a mix of IT and e-commerce knowledge, which will come define your data model and create the instance for you specifically, and prepare everything and train you so that you can run it afterwards. And the last side is advertising. We do advertising on and off Amazon. So we have ideas to be really 360 degrees kind of approach where, okay, our mission is to grow brands on e-commerce. So we do whatever it takes to do that. And for me, as I said, the vision for the future is technology is super important. That's why we believe strongly in technology for content, but also for advertising.
That's a good word at the end. I think we're through with our time today. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thanks,
I
Matt.
wish you a pleasant weekend and looking to see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a great
Bye-bye.
day. Bye-bye.